Welcome, Jasmine. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
I'm a little bit nervous, but yes, excited at the same time. Thanks for having me on.
I love your honesty. I love it. Well, Jazz, do you want to share a bit about who you are in terms of what kind of therapist you are and whereabouts you're located?
So I'm in Melbourne, one of the southeast suburbs called Cranbourne. It is a pretty established but growing area at the moment, and I have just qualified as a Myo. I've been working as a remedial for about 5 years, but I've just finished my Myo. And yeah, that's me.
Nice. So what made you, so you were remedial qualified before. What made you want to go and do Myo in amongst all the other stuff you've got going on?
The main thing was the private health side of it. Like, there's always the little bit of being a bit scared that remedial is going to get cut off from private health. It was on the chopping block a few years ago, so like Myo will be an extra level of protection. But the main thing that then motivated me to do it now was that I actually couldn't hire any Myos, and clients were wanting Myos because with their private health, they would get a balance for Myo and an extra balance for remedial, so they had the two separate ones. So they wanted to specifically see a Myo, and I was like, well, I'm trying to hire one, but I can't, so I'll just do it myself. And then at that moment when I enrolled, I actually hired another person who is doing the course with me, so we got to do it together. So I was like, yep, we'll just do it now, do it together, get it out of the way.
Nice, nice. Okay, so what got you into massage originally? Why did you decide bodywork was for you?
So I've always been in the fitness kind of area. I've done a Bachelor of Sports Science and lots of competitive sport through teenage years and whatnot. So being in the health space was just a bit of a no-brainer. I was always told that I was good with my hands. My first massage gig was actually when I was 10 years old on the Great Tasmanian Bike Ride. I would go around the dinner tables. There was thousands of people on the ride, and I would go around the dinner tables and charge 50 cents for a couple of minute neck and shoulder massage. And so that was my first massage gig, and it's just growing from there.
Started out as 10. I can just see the headline now. Started out as 10-year-old charging 50 cents, and now I'm this. No.
Yeah, now I'm charging just a little bit more than that, but doing neck and shoulder, more than neck and shoulders. And so I was actually really unsure of whether I wanted to get into massage, because I was like, I don't want to have to touch people. Like, people are gross. I was working in a gym, and so people are sweaty and disgusting, and working as a personal trainer, that's how you see people. So I actually started off with just a weekend course in massage, because I wasn't sure I wanted to commit to the full diploma. So I just did the weekend course and started seeing some of my PT clients. And then after about a year of doing that, the clients were like, Jazz, can you just get qualified already so that we can claim private health with you? Okay, I guess I like this enough. So,
I've been doing it 12 months now, and people aren't actually as gross as I thought, because, hey,
yeah.
they can shower. Like, who knew? And now that I've experienced that, I think I'm ready to take it to the next level. Okay. And so how long ago was that? When did you first start? When did you actually first study your diploma?
So my diploma I did about just over 6 years ago. So I started massaging. I think it's been nearly 8 years. I think this is coming up to 8 years this year of
Yeah.
actually doing massage. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what is your like family life in context of that? You've got babies in there as well. So when did that happen in terms of in relation to your career?
So my daughter's 9. So she was about 1.5 when I first started massaging, and I was very blessed with her. She's the most chilled out toddler. She would actually come to work with me. She would just sit at the reception. The gym that I worked at was fantastic. They let me bring her to work, and she would just sit at reception with them, with her lunchbox and her iPad and her coloring pages, and I would go in often and do massage for a few hours. So yeah, I was incredibly lucky with her. She loved coming to work with me. And then my son now is 3, and he's the complete opposite. I've had to make sure I've got someone there full-time looking after him. I've had to step back from treatments a little bit with him. I haven't been able to work as much. So yeah, they got the 2 kids and husband, and he's self-employed as well. So that's been lots of fun in terms of financial instability.
Navigating that, the uncertainty of 2 people being self-employed in 2 different businesses.
Yep, pretty much.
So what has, I guess, so you started out working in a gym. What was your next iteration of your career once you moved from the gym?
So the gym, I was there for about 2 years. I did start employing staff in that gym a few months before I finished up there, but then they put my rent up and it just got too much. And at the same time, the rental that we were living in, we were told we'd have to move out because that was getting demolished. So at that time, we started looking for a new rental and we found one that would be perfect for me to work from home. So we made that transition. The owner of that house was actually the pastor of our church at the time. And so he was completely fine with me running the business from the house. It worked really well. We made a couple of little adjustments to the house so that there was a space at the front and then we closed it off and then there was the rest of the house. And so it worked really, really well. I set up 2 rooms in the front of that house and a little reception area so that we could work out of the front. And we were there for about 4 years in that house. We had a few little council issues, which was good fun. We had someone complain about car parking because it's a small residential street. And so council had to come and inspect the business and like, right, you have to do this and you have to change this. And they made me take down the banner that I had in the front of the house. Then people freaked out that I had moved. I'm like, no, council just told me I had to take it down. But council told me that if I get another parking complaint, they would shut me down. So I was very, very wary about that. And so when we kept on getting busier, that's when we had to then explore moving out of the house. And so we've now been in a commercial space for just over a year and just on a year and a half now in a commercial shop.
So I'm curious to know, what was it like to work in a space that you obviously knew you were allowed to? So you've been permission from the owner. What was it like to then go and have the council come and have a conversation? What was that like? What comes up for you when you experience confrontation like that?
That was really scary. I feel like I did have a little bit of warning, which helped because they actually just came and knocked on our door and one of the staff opened the door. I wasn't there. And so they were like, we're from the council, we need to inspect the business. And my staff member handled it fantastically. She was like, business owner's not here, you'll have to come back another time. So she got them to call me and arrange a time to come. So I was able to prep a little bit for that, and then they came and inspected the business, and that was intense. They were there with a measuring tape and like they needed to look through the whole house and everything that I was doing, and so I felt like I was under a microscope. It was really intense. And then after a couple of weeks after that meeting, they sent me a formal letter going, this is what needs to change. When they measured the whole house, they said to me that the rule was in a residential area, that the business aspect can only be 10% or less of the total property. And mine measured out to be 12%. So the council dude was like, it's all right, you're a low risk business, I'm going to let this one slide. Like, okay, thanks.
Wow.
But they were like, you have to take down the banner. I had a big, it was like 2.5 meter banner on the front of the house. And they were like, no, the only business signage you're allowed has to be the size of an A4 piece of paper. Yeah. And yeah, it was like, well, how am I, people are going to think that I've moved. And everyone did. Everyone was like, where's the banner gone? Like they kind of freaked out a little bit.
Yeah.
But so it ended up working out okay, but I was on edge every time I saw so many cars parked out on the street that I was like, are we going to get another complaint about parking? So I actually ended up typing up a letter and putting it in all my neighbors' letterboxes because we live on a dead end street. And so I put it in all their letterboxes going, if there's any parking issues, please come and see me first. Like,
don't
complain about me.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll work it out.
Yeah. And I think that is so important. We live in an estate. It's a very dog friendly estate or a dog heavy estate. And it's a cacophony. If you go for a walk around the block, everyone decides to tell every other dog that you're walking, person walking, back. And there's such a difference between your neighbor coming and saying, hey, need to have a conversation with you about your dog, because many times, like assuming good, assuming that you actually don't know that there's an issue, rather than going straight to council and not giving people the benefit of the doubt, not giving the opportunity to change. Different if someone decides to, you have a conversation with them and they don't respond in a polite and kind way that says, yes, I'd like to change my behaviour. Yeah, I guess what I was thinking about in that is that it's having that, one of the lessons is being really open to communication, even in the challenging circumstances, so that you don't have another complaint. And did anyone ever come and have a conversation, or did any of them mention the letter?
My neighbour straight across the street did, because he had a truck, and he would sometimes park that truck on the street, which made the gap between our houses much smaller. So we had a good chat about it, and he ended up leaving that job and got rid of the truck. So that was fantastic.
Excellent.
But yeah, we still joke about it sometimes, how I thought it was him that had complained because he couldn't get his truck into his driveway properly. And
he's like, no, it wasn't me.
Yeah, he's like, I swear, it wasn't me. It was probably old mate down the road.
All right. So for you, when you have a setback like that, how do you deal with it? When something comes against you, how do you respond?
Freak out. And I think of every worst possible scenario that could come in. One thing that I was scared about with the council was that I don't have a sink in the room for my treatment rooms. And I was like, I've heard about this being a thing. Is council going to bring this up? So in that 2-week period while I was waiting to hear after the inspection, I was looking up, how can I get sinks into the room? Like doing all this research, portable ones, or what's it going to take to plumb it in from the laundry behind the wall? And just freaking out basically was my go-to. But for me, to kind of control that a little bit, because my auto state is just freak out, here's everything that could go wrong. My husband really grounds me, so he will see me doing that and be like, Jazz, just chill out. You don't know what the council's going to say. If they do tell you need to change something, they will give you warning and time to change that. Yeah. So he's always been the one that grounds me and calms me down. He's just so chill. He freaks me out by being so chill. Why aren't you worrying about this?
Can't you see all the bad things that are going to happen? And he just doesn't. He's just like, yeah. How dare you be logical? I'm being irrational here. Come on, go with me.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'll just have my brain dump on him and vent about everything. And then he will just be like, give me some perspective and calm me down. And then I'm like, okay, I'll wait. I'll try and sleep. I'll try and not let all the thoughts just keep me awake at night. Yeah.
And then it sounds like you take some proactive action. Like sending a letter like that doesn't happen if you're staying in a spiral of freak outness. Like you can't take action in that space. So on the other side of that, when he's helped to ground you, is that usually your default is to go and communicate with, or to go and solve a problem in a way that you can see that you can?
Yes, definitely. I've always been a problem solver, and I've actually just been discussing this with a few people, that if I'm told that I can't do something, I'll be like, but I want to do that thing. So I will work out another way to do it. Like I will go around their problem and, find a back street and get to the solution that I want. Can be frustrating for me because I'm like, but my goal's just right there. I can see it. It would just make so much sense if I could just go straight. And sometimes, I have to go around, but I feel like that is one of my strengths, that I don't just take no for an answer. I'll find another way to do it, and I'll prove you wrong that I can do that. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. I see that challenge and I'll take it.
All right. So you decided to move into a commercial space. What did that mean practically for you? Did you stay in that same house?
No. So we actually, through COVID, there was a couple of things that happened in the lead up to changing premises. So I'll just go back a little bit. At the start of 2020, I decided that I didn't know enough about other allied health in the area. So I wanted to meet other allied health. So I started booking myself appointments with I started with chiropractors. I don't know enough about chiros. I don't know any in the area. So I started booking myself appointments with all the local chiros, introducing myself, being like, hey, I'm a massage therapist. I work in the area. Tell me about you. Show me what you do. Why should I refer my clients to you? And so I met this one in particular who was about 5 minutes from my house, and we actually ended up treatment swapping quite a bit. And we kind of discussed a little bit of, she's got a spare room in her clinic and she would love to have a massage therapist in there. And so we kind of basically talked, of, oh, maybe this could happen in the future. Here's how much rent I would charge you, blah, 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 kind of thing. This is a distant future plan. And then when COVID hit, and they introduced the square meter rule, like, you can only have one person per certain square meters, I worked out that my house was too small to have 2 treatment rooms running and reception, that we just didn't have enough space. So I could only run 1 treatment room. So I ended up calling up that chiro and being like, hey, that room rental we talked about, can I take you up on that? And she was like, sure, when do you want to move in? I was like, tonight. So, oh, okay. So we went to her clinic and cleared out all the junk that she had, and it moved all my stuff in and started renting our room. We were operating out of there the next day, so that we could still have 2 treatment rooms. And so that was great. That was fantastic during COVID, of being able to still run that and still give work to all my staff. I had 4 staff at that time. But we found that a lot of our clients were struggling with which address did they go to, because they were both in Cranbourne, and even though we sent them in the text message, you're at this address, a number of times they would still rock up at the wrong place. So I was like, this isn't working. Like, it's good for now. I'm glad we could do it, but this is not a long-term solution. And so then in the middle of COVID, our next door neighbours, I was chatting to them, and they were telling me how they were wanting to move to the country and sell their house. So I was like, oh, well, show me your house. Like, we're actually nearly at the point of where we could look at buying. And so we ended up buying their house from them off market, and it was the house right next door. So my plan was, right, we'll move next door and I'll keep the house that we're currently renting and use that as business, and not tell council that we were living in it and I was going to use it a bit more. And so that was my plan. I'd live next door and then work next door. And then I was approached by a different chiro, who was like, can I rent space off you? I don't like where I currently am. I've, a bunch of my patients come and see you and they say that you're good. Can we meet and discuss this? So I was like, oh, well, okay. I'm going to have more bedrooms available in this house. So yep, come and take one of these rooms. And then so he moved in, and we stopped operating out of the other chiro. And so we were all just in the house. And then the parking issue was like, we're getting way too busy for this. Even though we can have clients park in the driveway now, it was like, nah, this is stressful. And so that's when I started looking at commercial space. I'm part of a business networking group called BNI. So I said to the real estate agent in that group, I said, I need a commercial property stat, like now. I'm going to get another parking complaint. And so he found me one, and we had to set up treatment rooms in it. It was just one big open office. So we spent about 6 weeks. There was about 6 weeks of negotiating the contract. Once I signed the lease, my husband's a carpenter, so poor guy. 2 weeks the renovation took, and then we were in. And so the chiro was, renting the room, and then I had 4 massage rooms. I went from 2 rooms at the house to 4 massage rooms in the commercial shop.
Let's talk about what it's like for you when you make that decision, and then you, within 4 weeks, how long did you say it took for fit
6 weeks? 6 weeks we were negotiating the contract, and then 2 weeks for fit out. Okay,
so you fitted out 5 treatment rooms in 2 weeks. Now that is insane for some people, and I've seen you do this. So I want to rent a room tonight. This is your strategy for life, and it's amazing, and it's one of the reasons why you're incredibly resourceful and successful in business. I want to know, what's it like to be you? What do you tell yourself in that moment? What do you expect of yourself and others in that moment?
That's a very good question. What do I tell myself? I'm not too sure that there's like a set process that I go through of like a mental game. It's just, I can see my goal. That's what I want. When do I need it by? Or how soon can I get it? Because I'm not very patient. And so what do I need to do to get there? And then I just do it. I am very lucky that I have a very strong family support system, so that when I said to the chiro, I need to move in tonight, I called my mum and dad and was like, she's using this room as storage. We need to move all the stuff out and put it in her house so we can move my stuff in. My mum and dad were there that night to help me do that. They brought their station wagon. I grabbed a trailer from my husband's work, and we just did it. It was, I'm incredibly blessed with my family and how much they helped me out with that. So that's definitely yeah, one of the big things. I definitely wouldn't be able to do it without them. But yeah, no, in terms of me, I just see the goal, and then I just do whatever it takes to get to that goal. I don't let anything else get in the way.
Yeah. And like, I've watched you do this time and time again. It's amazing. And being blessed to be watching different points. And it's probably a similar strategy to me. This is what I want. What do I have to do to get it? And get out of my way, especially if you tell me I can't. I really resonate with that, because that is like, whether it's resourceful or not, that is literally that's the Alicia Cook playbook right there. What times of your life, when you've done that, you can see your outcome, what has gotten in the way of that for you? Like, what are some things that have tripped you up along the way?
I'd say the main thing would be, and I still have to work on this every single time, is because I do rely on other people, and I'm very good at delegating. But in the past, I have done that a little too harshly and put high expectations on someone when they're not prepared for that, or they're not willing to do what I'm asking them to do. And so then it's not that I treat them like crap, but I'm just like, well, but I need to do this thing, and I need you to help me get to this thing. So each time something comes up and I'm like, right, here's my goal, I need to do this, I'm trying to be more mindful of who I'm getting around me and what I'm asking them to do, and is this reasonable, and what can I do to thank them for, helping me. I can't just expect them to drop everything and help me achieve my goal. I need to be giving back to them as well. I think that's definitely been, a thing that trips me up in the past, is someone will be like, no, like, what do you mean no? I need your help.
I'm asking, you're going to do it. And it can be tricky too. If you can see that goal, it's almost like we assume that they can see that goal that you want to, but they can't. And I think that's the big element is, like you said, firstly, is what I'm asking of them reasonable? And secondly, do they actually want this? Because just because I want this for them doesn't necessarily mean that they want this for them, which is also very, very important, especially in leadership, like when you're managing other people. And I think it's bringing them along for the ride, like actually say, like, and then even teaching them, okay, so this is my outcome. This is where we're going as a business. This is how I would love to see you do it. And I think you're quite capable. And for them to go, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, all right. I could do that. That sounds good. That's really different. Anything else that's tripped you up or gets in the way?
Maybe only just finance. But again, I've been incredibly blessed with that. I have a pretty good bank of dad, that whenever I do need a decent amount of money, I can go and visit him. But I do sometimes my goals, I'm like, I want to get there. And then I just don't have the money for this right now. And I'm not very good at the patiently waiting until I've saved up enough to do it. But I want it now. And I know this is the problem with life now, is everyone just wants it now. This is the whole thing about click and collect and, get it next day shopping. That would probably be a big struggle for me, is I want it now. I don't want to have to wait. Yeah. And usually my goals require a bit of money. So that's a challenge.
And what happens for you? What happens as a result if you can't have it now? Like, how do you do patience?
I don't. So I will still try and find alternative ways of, can I have this right now? So I will stalk Marketplace or secondhand options for whatever it is that I'm wanting to buy, or see if I can negotiate treatment trades, or, I want this now.
I love it. I love how you're laughing as you talk about it. It's so good, because it could, if you were listening from the outside, it could sound like entitlement. What I will tell you, what I know about Jazz, is that she's also willing to work for her goals. You've never once said, I just expect them to show up. It's like you see the goal and you actually take action towards that. And then you find every workaround, if you have to actually get there. Some people will listen to this and your pace of life will be overwhelming. Yeah, like that kind of this, and this. I think what's important to point out is that there's no right or wrong way to run a business. Well, that's not true. There probably is some wrong ways to run a business. We could be, we can get out of that track. But there's no right or wrong ways to get towards a goal. Yeah. And when you have big goals, you have to be willing to take action. And sometimes that requires massive action. What I think is really important is that the way you action this and walk in this is actually in alignment with your integrity, because it is fundamentally how you're wired. And it's a little bit like Tai Chi doesn't ever block energy. It actually takes the energy and uses it and moves it into a different way. And I think, if you were, I can't imagine you in corporate, but I think you'd be pretty ruthless if you were, because it's like you're just so tenacious. Whereas I think running your own business, it's like, out of my way, let's go, let's make this happen. And I think there's some really resourceful strategies that you have in that. One of the things you mentioned earlier is that you had one child that was very compliant, easy to get along with, and just kind of rocked out, no worries at all. And one child who's the total opposite, which we have a similar experience, although they're swapped. Our daughter is younger and our son is older. What's it like to parent two very different kids for you?
Again, another really big struggle. Something I still think I certainly haven't mastered. With my son, the main struggle that I have with him is that he's very stubborn like me. He wants what he wants when he wants it, and it's been that way ever since he was an infant. So we've clashed right from the get-go. There's been times where I'm like, no, I'm going to win. And he's like, no, he's going to win. So I'll just put him outside.
Best thing about being a parent.
Yeah.
Actually, it's good for you to enjoy that. Mum, it's hailing. I don't care.
Goal around there, he'll be fine. Again, it's a huge reliance on my husband. He's so much better with kids than I am. I used to think I was a kid person, and then when I had a kid, I was like, I'm not a kid person. I don't really like kids. So I'm grateful I married someone who does like our kids. And then it's been asking for help when I need it. So my mum comes, while I was breastfeeding, I breastfed both of them for 12 months, and my mum was incredibly supportive during that. And she would come to my house and look after my son while I was working from home. And then I would just come out and feed him and then go back to work. And my mum would just be, chilling out with him. She loves babies. It was a fantastic arrangement. And now I actually realized, as one thing I did actually ask for your advice about, is I'm not keeping up with everything at home. I don't enjoy hanging out with the kids. I'm not getting stuff done. I don't want to be there. I want to be at work. I'm successful at work. Work is fun for me. I don't want to be at home. It's a struggle. There's too much to do there that I don't like. And so I had to outsource. I had to ask for help. And it was one of the best decisions I made last year, was to hire someone to work as a housekeeper / nanny / cleaner. And so she comes 2 afternoons a week and we'll hang out with the kids, and she'll clean and she'll cook dinner and play with the kids. And that was the best thing I've done. And the kids absolutely love her. And they think that's fantastic. And that took so much pressure off me of getting the stuff done, that when I go home now, like, oh, the kitchen is already clean, I don't have to do that. And so then it just makes it more enjoyable to actually play with the kids. So when I'm there, I'm more engaged with the kids and not thinking about all this other stuff that I've got to do, because she's already done that. I don't have to do that. So yeah, that makes it a bit enjoyable. But yeah, so I think it was just asking for help when I need it, and acknowledging that I don't get along well with Logan. And so we've now just structured life where I don't have to be alone with him for long periods of time. We've just scheduled things around it, and if I'm with him, someone else is usually there. We just acknowledge I don't get along with him. Yeah. And that's okay. We'll just we'll find alternative arrangements.
I think that's you're so honest around that, Jazz, and in a way that I think a lot of parents aren't. That I know the reason my son and I clash is because he has been in the past a little mirror. Now he's a big mirror because he's 14. And thankfully developing his own quirks and things that are certainly not mine. And that's nice to see that it's not just it's not just a carbon copy of his mother, good Lord. However, I think that was a big thing I had to learn as a parent, that I'm not the kind of person that likes to sit there and play Lego. like, I just don't, I honestly can't comprehend. It just makes no sense to me why I'd have to say that. That's what kids do. You be enjoying and engaged in that, and I will go and do the washing or your dishes or my work or whatever, whatever it was. And that was a huge thing I had to overcome in terms of mum guilt and the shame that came with that, because I'd only ever seen my mum and my mother-in-law, who are so good at that, going, oh, geez, I mean, I can do it, but it's not, similar to yourself, it's not my strength. It's not what I really love. And to be able to, A, understand that it's my own behavior being modeled that I don't like. B, sometimes we clash because we want to be right or we want to win or whatever it is. And C, that it's okay to allow others. It takes a village to raise a child. There's ways that you can actually support until we either grow enough to be able to handle it, or they grow up enough to be able to not clash as much. And certainly that's what we're seeing. It seems strange, but mostly as a 14-year-old now, he's actually better than he was when he was younger, because he can rationalize a little bit more than what he could. And it's, in some ways it's not. There's a sigh in there as well, because he is a 14-year-old boy. So there's a lot of other things that come in with it. However, I think it's actually really important to have conversations with mums that are very successful and have great careers, that it is also tricky to then change that energy so quickly to have to go home and cook dinner and, clean up the dishes. And it's like, why? If you were the CEO, if you're, I mean, I'm going to say something, maybe I'll get in trouble, I don't know. But if you were the CEO of a major organization and you were a man, you would not be expected to cook and clean and care for your children. And that's the truth. But in society, it's like, well, we have ovaries, so therefore we should be able to cook, clean, run a great business and be a great mum and sit down and play Play-Doh and Lego. And it's like, it just doesn't work like that. And it's totally okay to have both. You can be an exceptional mum by having support and what you need around asking for help, and run an exceptional business. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I think it's a great lesson for lots of people that I'm sure are listening, whether they're mums, dads, parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, all the things. This is a really important story.
Yeah, learning to be okay with that. I still have to remind myself sometimes it's okay, but I am providing for him. He is being cared for. I still love him, but I'm just not good at expressing that myself. So I'll get other people to help me with that. And that's okay.
Which is still loving him.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? It's like, actually, I'll do this out of love because I know that this is the best way that you can actually access their care that you deserve. Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing that we can offer our kids.
During lockdowns, when I had to be with them 24/7, that didn't go well. So it was like definitely having someone else there as a buffer. My little sister actually ended up moving in with us for nearly 8 months during part of the lockdown period, and that was the best thing that I could have done. That was the best thing for him, so that I wasn't stuck alone with him, because it wouldn't have turned out well. Yeah. It's like it's better to have someone else there and not leave me alone with him.
Yeah. And we've had a couple of people living with us too, and it is amazing how it diffuses situations in the home so quickly. And they don't even say anything or do anything different. It's just the fact that they're there. Yeah. And there's that, oh, thank goodness. Okay.
There's another adult to talk to as well.
Yes, exactly. Woo-hoo. I'm sick of these people I'm related to. Knowing what you know now, Jazz, is there anything you would tell yourself or do differently in relation to, well, I'll talk about parenting because that's where we're at. Is there anything you would tell yourself differently other than not having children, knowing what you know now? Is there anything else you'd tell yourself?
Yeah, I don't have kids. No, I would say probably the main thing would be to not be scared to ask for help. I definitely had the mindset of, I have to do it all myself. This is my role. This is the kid that's come out of me. It's my job to look after them. But knowing that it's okay to look after them, but it doesn't have to all be me. I can have help to look after them, and that's okay. I think would be the main thing. I don't have to juggle everything myself. No one actually expects that of me. It's it's okay to share the load, and I always used to, I still sometimes do, the way that I was brought up, it was I need to get this right the first time. And so whenever I would get something wrong or something wouldn't work well, I'd be like, well, what did I do wrong? And so that's something that I consistently have to keep on reminding myself. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to do something wrong. You can get it right later. It doesn't have to be right the first time. Yeah, we can play trial and error and make mistakes and learn from them. And so long as you don't keep making the same mistake, then you're all good.
Yeah. And that's huge. There's a lot of self-compassion in that, to be okay, because then we become less likely, if we don't want to make a mistake, then we become less likely to do stuff that's outside of our comfort zone. Because if I go out there, I'm going to do the wrong thing, in air quotes here. And when we are okay to make mistakes, we model that to our kids, which is a good thing. And it actually allows it. We have to practice self-compassion in that. Like, there's no other way to do it other than being able to go, and it's okay if I make a mistake. And there's a softness to that I think is really important. So let's talk about the other end of the story. So we've gone from 50 cents for a shoulder massage at 10. And obviously gone from being at home to being all at a residential house to then commercial space with 5 treatment rooms. What have you just done recently as a result of the way that you see life in terms of asking for help, seeing the big picture, and then taking a truckload of action? What have you done now?
So if I was to put my dream goggles on, my ultimate goal is to run a massive one-stop shop wellness, like allied health, anything recovery health in this one thing. Like one of those, the old Masters buildings. Masters went out of business. I want one of those buildings and just deck it out with everything. So I realize I can't just go and do that tomorrow. So I have to be a bit patient on that one, but I'm definitely working on the building blocks to get there. So over this year, the shop next door to us, it's the same building, just the shop straight across from our one. The tenant said that they were not renewing their lease and moving out. So I said, well, I want it. So I did what I needed to show them that, yep, I can afford this. This is my plan. This is what I'm going to do with it. So we just took over. I'm now sitting in my brand new office that we built. So we built another 5 treatment rooms and an office in this space. I gave it a little bit longer. We had 4 weeks to do this renovation, partly because I was away for a couple of weeks of it, and it was a little bit hard to get everything happening while we were gone. But yeah, so we now have 10 treatment rooms. Actually, on the other side, we closed off reception and made that another treatment room. So there's 11 treatment rooms in total now. And I have an office, which I am super excited about. This is a big thing for me, to have a space where I can actually sit and not be sitting out at reception doing these Zoom meetings like I would be in the past.
So good.
Yeah. And so now I have also just promoted 2 of my staff to be practice managers. So they are stepping up and running all the day-to-day things of managing the staff and the day-to-day finances and whatnot, so that I can focus on filling all these other treatment rooms now. So we are renting rooms out to other allied health. So we still have the chiro that moved in with us a while ago, and we've just had an osteopath move in this week. He's taking 2 treatment rooms. And so now I've got 3 more rooms that I am looking to fill. So I'm going to put my attention onto that. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. I've got 8 employees for massage and a receptionist. And yeah.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Starting from working from home with 1 or 2 treatment rooms and that's in a very short space of time, to go from 0 to hero in, a year and a half, and through a global pandemic. And we're in Cranbourne, which it seemed to be that was one of the hearts of a lot of the outbreaks of COVID and all that kind of stuff. So lockdowns were extensive for you.
Yep.
In terms of clients and where people are located in the world, I call you guys the canary in the coal mine, because whatever is happening at Melbourne Muscle Medics tends to happen to other clinics within weeks or months, in terms of lockdowns, COVID cancellations, like all the things. It's like it then just kind of ripples out. I think you are the epicenter for what happens with COVID in Melbourne, and then it spreads out to the rest of the world. So when Jazz starts talking about something, I'm like, oh, here we go. All right, how's she solving it? What's she doing about it? Because that's probably going to be the same advice we're going to give to other people.
We definitely had to put a lot in place in terms of being able to manage the lockdowns and all the cancellations and everything. So we've certainly been, as a team, this is where I'm so glad I'm not doing it by myself, where as a team we've come together to be like, right, here's the issue, how can we fix it, and then coming up with ideas and then implementing those. And so we've got a fairly consistent way now of how we manage everything, and we still manage to have our books full, even with all the last minute cancellations. We've got a really strong waitlist system now, so that we know, right, if this person cancels, then you're straight in. Like we've set that up, and it's pretty solid now.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think is the greatest impact you've had on the world because of the way that you operate?
While I have the goal of wanting to build a big wellness center and have everything in it, one of my key focuses is trying to have a positive workplace for my staff. So when creating my mission and values and all of that kind of stuff, I've focused it on how we can be a positive workplace, how the staff can, come to work and know that this is a happy environment for them and feel better when they get here and not be like, oh, I've got to go to work again. I like that I can provide a positive and happy workplace, like where they've got a place where their contributions matter, that they're listened to, and they're part of a team. It's not just I'm the boss, do as I say. It's here's our goal, here's what we want to do, here's our vision, help me get there. What do you think? What are your suggestions? And I think promoting a couple to practice managers as well, I think that was a really big step for me for really relinquishing some of the control, but showing that there is growth in this place, and they can step into a role to make their own decisions and put their own ideas into practice.
Yeah, that's so powerful and such a beautiful example for what is possible in this industry. When a lot of therapists can struggle with all sorts of stuff, especially in COVID, what the difference that having that outcome in mind, knowing what it is that you want, and then looking for what is possible and what can you control in those situations. It doesn't mean that it's not a struggle. It doesn't mean that it's not hard. But often the outcome is different because you're looking for solutions, just as you said. So your eyes are looking for that's a solution, that's a solution, that's a solution. It's an incredibly powerful strategy for business and life, and one that I'm sure you will impact more and more therapists as you grow your business to be able to see more and more people coming through. It's exciting.
Hope so.
Jazz, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I know you are a very busy woman running a clinic with 11 rooms plus kids and all the things. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and for sharing your story.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.